In this tutorial, we're going to look at adding buttons to forms that provide functionality to that form. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open my form and I'm going to switch to Design View. And now I'm going to maximize, let's make the form a bit bigger. As I said, it's quite fiddly to get the corners on these forms. So I'm going to grab that. And I'm also going to make the form a bit bigger to give me some room to put the buttons in. So let's drag that out a bit more. Right, how to create buttons then? Well, it's really straightforward. You click on the form, and then up in Form Design Tools, you've got, in the Design tab here, you've got multiple options. Choose the button option. Now, first of all, I'm going to do some navigation buttons. So I'll just drag a button on the screen. Now, don't worry about the size of the button. Just get it size you want it. Now, I use the grid lines to get one button about the size I want it, and more about that in a minute. Now, I want these buttons to navigate, so I want this button to go to the first record in my my table. So I'll choose from the option here, which in the wizard that opens up. Once you drag a button, this will automatically launch. I'll go to first record, and then next. And now you've got options here. You can either have text, which will say first record, or you can have a picture, which will give you an icon. Now, one of the things in the more recent versions of Access is you can actually choose all pictures, and then you can choose from a very wide list of pictures, some of which will not make any sense at all, and some you actually might find are more appropriate to what you want the button to do. So you might want to have a look at this and have a look at the pictures that are there. Personally though, I'll just choose the good old-fashioned go to first symbol and then go to next. Now, when you name the button, it's a good idea to give it a meaningful name, because if you ever go back and start tweaking the VBA, the code on this, it's a good idea that the button's got a name and it's not just called Command 1, Command 2, Command 3. So I'm going to call this button Go to First. Oops. And then click on Finish. And now I'm going to add some more buttons. Next button I'm going to add is going to be another navigation. Go to Previous Record. Next. Again, I'm going to choose the icon that it gives us, and I'm going to call that button Go to Previous, or Prev, and click on Finish. Now, don't worry if the button isn't the right size. It should normally snap to the size of the previous button you've drawn, or thereabouts, or snap to the size of the grid box. But don't worry, if the buttons are different sizes, there's a little trick at the end you can use to make them all the same size. So now I'm going to choose another button. This is going to be a Go to Next record, so I'll drag that on the screen. And I'll go to Next record, Next, btn go to Next, and then Finish. And that's created my next button. And I'll drag another button now which allows me to navigate to the last record, so I'll go to last record, next, again choose the picture, btn go to last, and click on Finish. Now once you've done those buttons, you can then sort of cluster them the way you want to. If you ever want to sort of standardize the size of the buttons, you can highlight them all, and in the Arrange tab here you can choose size to tallest, to shortest, to grid, to widest, to narrowest. And if you choose these, it'll size the button to the size of the tallest button or the size of the shortest button, and it'll make them all nice and equal. Also, if you want to put equal space in between them, you can click on the spacing button and it'll, as you can see, it'll space them equally. But I want them clustered next to each other with a gap in the middle, and you'll see why now. Because I'm going to add some more functionality. So I'll go back to Design and I'll choose a button now, and this button I want to exit the application. So I'll just drag a button, doesn't matter if you get the size right, and this time I'm going to go to Form Operations. I want this to go to Close Form, and then we'll go to Next, leave it like that. Or you can choose a stop icon, but I want the stop icon for actually quitting the application, so I'll choose the exit doorway one, and then btn close form, go to Finish, and that gives me the close button, which I can now drag into the middle there. So there's my close. Don't worry, I'll sort the spacing out in a minute. And then I also want a quit button. So I'll go here, create another button, and that is going to be application, quit application, next picture stop, next btn quit app, and go to finish. And I'll drag that. And now go to arrange, align, size space, equal horizontal. There we go. It's arranged them all nicely there. Now if you want to add any more buttons in, for instance, you want a print record button, you can just add any buttons you need in here. And the other thing to remember is you can actually put buttons in that do custom things which you need to program in VBA, but we'll look at that later on. We won't look at that now, we're doing simple buttons this time. So this time I want to do print form, next, print the form, and it's a printer icon, and let's go to next, and we'll call that btn print form, and go to finish. Now if I just put that there, now we've got the buttons. Oh, I need to snap that to grid, so I'll go into arrange to grid. That's arranged it vertically to the grid, so I'll just drag it across a bit now, and there we are. So now I've created my buttons. I go back to home now, close the form down, yes to save changes. If I open the form back up now, you'll see the buttons are there and they all work quite nicely. First, last, next, previous. I'm not going to click on print because I don't want to print out the form, and that's quit app, and that's close form. So as you can see, the buttons work, and that's how you create simple buttons in Microsoft Access on a form. And we're done. Next, we'll look at how to remove other navigation options, because once you've got these navigation options in here, you won't want these down here. As I said, we're done.